Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My dear friends, we meet again on the late-night storytelling program, broadcast at 22:15 every day on our YouTube Ghost Story channel. Today, I would like to send you a story titled The Year's End, Death on the Full Moon of the 12th Month.
No, get away from me. Don't come here. Don't come near me. Forgive me. Please forgive me. Get away from me.
The blood-curdling screams echoed through Fong's room. The nightmare caused Fong to snap awake. His face was pale with terror as he bolted upright. Sweat drenched his shirt.
It was just a dream.
Fong had just experienced a bizarre vision. Two figures dressed in eerie, demonic garb had thrown a chain around his neck and dragged him away. Fong sat up and flicked on every light in the room. He sat there in a daze for a long moment, muttering to himself.
It must just be a nightmare, that's all. Lately I've been so stressed out over my studies. That's why I'm seeing things in my sleep.
Fong eventually drifted back to sleep until the voice of Mrs. Vaughn, his mother, called out from downstairs.
"Fong, get up and eat breakfast. The sun is high in the sky. Why are you still sleeping?"
"Yes, I'm up." He stepped downstairs with messy hair and groggy, half-asleep eyes.
"Where did the dad go so early? It's the weekend and he's still working?"
Mrs. Vaughn replied. "No, he went to exercise with the neighbors. I don't know why he isn't back for breakfast yet. It's the end of the year and there's so much to do. Eat up so you can get to work. We've got a million things to worry about. I bet those old men dragged each other to a cafe." As she finished her sentence, the sound of a man coughing came from outside. "I'm back. I didn't have time for any cafes. I was just busy talking to them and lost track of time. Oh, by the way, Fong, your exams are over and you have your grades, right? You're just waiting to transfer schools. You'll likely start after the new year. Why don't you take a trip back to your maternal hometown to clear your head? Go before Tet to visit your grandparents and everyone. You haven't been in years. Your grandmother is getting old, and I'm too busy to go myself." From the kitchen, Mrs. Vaughn called out, "Your father is right. Arrange a trip back to the country to visit them and give them your Tet gifts. We'll worry about you starting school later. It's been 5 years already." It was true. Ever since his grandfather passed away, Fong, who was nearly 18 and months away from officially entering architecture school to follow his father's dream, had been so caught up in his studies that he hadn't returned home. Mrs. Vaughn took out her phone and dialed a number. A man's voice picked up on the other end. "Hello, is that Vaughn? It's Ba here. Are you, your husband, and the kids all doing well?" Mrs. Vaughn replied, "Yes, we are all doing fine. So, why are you calling today? Is there something on your mind?" "Well," Mrs. Vaughn replied, "Tet is almost here, and my son is about to transfer to a new campus, so he's got some time off. My husband and I were thinking of sending him up there to visit you, your aunt, and especially your grandmother, and to bring her some Tet gifts. I'm calling to let you know ahead of time. I might send him off tomorrow, so please keep an eye out and pick him up." "Oh, really? That's wonderful news. Don't you worry. Just put him on the bus. I'll be there to pick him up tomorrow. See you then." After a bit more chatting, Mrs. Vaughn hung up and headed to the market to buy things for Fong. "Where's Mom?" Fong asked from the other room. "She's lying down inside," his father replied. Seeing his parents so supportive of the trip back to his mother's hometown, Fong felt very excited. Early the next morning, he packed his bags and headed to the station to catch a bus to Sơn La. Phong maternal hometown was all the way in Thuan Chau. His father had been a migrant worker up there when he met Mrs. Vaughn. After she became pregnant with Phong, the two got married and moved back to his father's hometown in Tai Binh to start a farm and a trading business, which eventually became quite prosperous. Because of the long distance, the family rarely had the chance to visit the maternal side. This time, since Phong was on break right before Tet, Mrs. Vaughn was also very heartened. Before he left, she tucked a wad of cash into his hand.
"Take this for the trip. Give Grandma a few million for Tet shopping, and remember to buy offerings to burn incense for your grandfather. You hear me?" "I know, Mom. I'm off then." Phong quickly caught a taxi, said goodbye to his parents, and headed straight to the bus station. It was past 12 p.m. when the sleeper bus began its journey. The weather was beautiful today. It seemed like Tet this year wouldn't be too cold. Phong sat back, enjoying the melodic tunes playing on the bus, thinking about reuniting with his grandmother and cousins. Eventually, he drifted off to sleep without even realizing it. Back home, while Mrs. Van was busy preparing lunch, Mr. Vuong was cleaning the living room. Suddenly, for some unknown reason, the mirror hanging on the wall shattered. Shards of glass flew everywhere. Mrs. Van rushed out in a panic. "What on earth are you doing? How did that mirror fall from way up there? Oh my goodness! Don't you know breaking a mirror is terrible luck? It's the end of the year. People say all the bad luck and misfortune of the whole year piles up right at the end, and you're just being careless." Mr. Vuong clicked his tongue. "Oh, stop it. There's no bad luck here. You're just running your mouth. I was dusting a cobweb and happened to brush against it so it fell. The frame was old and rusted anyway. It was bound to break sooner or later." Mrs. Van was furious, but simply sat down to clean up the mess, then retreated to the kitchen to avoid an argument with her husband. Meanwhile, on the Tai Binh Son La bus route, Phong was jolted awake from his sleep by the heavy, raspy coughing of a woman in the neighboring sleeper berth. It was an elderly woman, around 70 years old, and beside her was a child about 5 years old, likely her grandson. As Phong awoke, the woman spoke softly, apologizing for disturbing his sleep. "It's no problem. I've slept for a while anyway. I was just getting up to watch the scenery. Are you two heading home to the country? Which part are you going to?" "Yes, I'm taking my grandson back to Son La. I have relatives there. We're visiting for Tet." "Oh, really? I'm heading there too. We're going the same way." Suddenly, the little boy sitting next to her burst into tears. He pointed his finger at Phong. "Grandma, there's a man with a wooden leg staring at me. His eyes are wide open. I'm scared." The woman turned around gently. "There's no one there. Is this young man scaring you?" "No, the man sitting behind him. He has a wooden leg. He looks scary." She tried to calm him again. "There's no one, child. Shh, just go to sleep. We're almost there. I'll wake you up when we arrive." Noticing the boy's strange behavior, Phong reached into his backpack and handed him a bag of candy. "There's no one there. Stop crying. I'll give you some candy. Eat this and go to sleep. Don't disturb the others." Phong turned back to the window to watch the roadside scenery, but he couldn't stop thinking about the boy's words. "A man with a wooden leg sitting behind me." A shiver ran down his spine. He suddenly thought of his grandfather, who had passed away 4 years ago from a stroke. His grandfather had fought in the resistance war on the Cambodian border and had lost his right leg to enemy fire. He lived with that stump, limping until the end of his life. The villagers used to call him Limping Fang. Phong suddenly felt an icy chill crawl over him.
The road from Taibing to Son La is nearly 500 kilometers, a long day's journey by bus. Around 3 p.m., the sleeper bus pulled over at a rest stop. Fong got off, ate a quick bowl of pho, and hurried back toward the bus. But just as he was leaving the eatery, a woman's voice called out from under a tree, "Hey, do you want to see a fortune?" Fong turned to see an old ethnic woman, a fortune teller. He recognized her immediately by the table in front of her, laid out with divination bamboo slips and prayer papers. She didn't demand a price, simply accepted whatever people chose to give. Feeling a bit of pity for her, he approached. "You can tell fortunes? I've never had mine read before, and honestly, I don't really believe in this stuff. But fine, tell me if my studies will go well and how my luck will be in the new year." As he spoke, he sat down and placed a bill onto the plate on her table, waiting with a smirk. The old woman looked up, her voice raspy. "You're heading to Son La, aren't you? I advise you to go back. This trip, there is little good and much evil." When she finally lifted her head to look at him, Fong jumped in fright. Her eyes were milky white, as if she were blind. Before he could recover from the stroke, she added something that left him reeling.
"A soldier with one missing leg is following you. He says he is your grandfather. He told me to tell you, go home." Fong swallowed hard. You probably just guessed I'm going to Son La because this bus route goes there, right? But did you really see an old man with a wooden leg? Who are you? How do you know about my family? Have you been investigating me?" The old woman shook her head slowly. "I don't know who you are to investigate you. I saw you passing by, and that spirit, I'm just passing the message along. That's why I'm telling you." "I've never seen a ghost in my life," Fong replied firmly. "If my grandfather's spirit really came back, he'd talk to me. Why haven't I seen anything?" Convinced the old woman was a fraud, Fong stood up and turned back toward the bus. Just as he was about to step away, the old woman called out again, clapping her hands to get his attention. "Listen, it's the end of the year, and Tet is almost here. Be careful on your travels. Take this bracelet. Who knows, it might protect you from restless spirits." Fong squinted down at the old woman's withered hands, holding a simple woven yarn bracelet. He sighed. Better to just take it to make her happy. He grabbed it and ran back to the bus, thinking to himself that she was probably just a swindler looking for Tet money. It's the same everywhere, he thought, people using these tricks to fool the gullible. He stuffed the bracelet into his pocket and climbed back on board. The sun was setting now. As evening approached, the sky turned pitch black, and the steep, winding mountain roads forced the bus to slow down. By 5 p.m., they were only halfway there. The beautiful roadside scenery had vanished, replaced by the flickering, dim lights from local houses along the slopes. Looking through the glass window, those lights looked like the glowing red and green eyes of wild forest predators, sending an involuntary shiver down Fong's spine. The bus traveled for another few hours into the deep night. From the back row, a mother and daughter, ethnic minorities dressed in traditional clothing with weary, hardship-worn faces, caught his attention. The mother was cradling her disabled daughter, who looked to be about 15 or 16, trying to comfort her. "Please, child, just eat a little. Try to have some of this bread. Poor thing, we're almost home. Once we're there, Mommy will buy you plenty of food." The daughter kept her mouth clamped shut, refusing to eat. A large red birthmark covered nearly her entire face. Her hair was matted, her lips were bruised and purple, and while one arm was normal, the other was shriveled and curled like a small child's hand.
She gnashed her teeth and suddenly struck her mother across the face. The sound of the slaps echoed, harsh and painful, but her mother only sobbed, pulling her daughter closer to her chest without a single word of anger. The other passengers paid no mind, minding their own business. Suddenly, the girl bolted upright, pointing wildly out the window. "Stop the bus! Stop the bus, or we'll all die! You're going to die!" She shoved her mother aside and ran to the center of the bus, screaming at the driver, "Stop this bus for me! Stop it now, or you'll all be buried together!" Seeing her daughter's outburst, the mother screamed as she tried to pull her daughter back to her seat. "My child, I beg you, don't be like this. Listen to me. We're almost home. Come back here with Mommy." Regardless of her mother's pleas or the strength used to pull her, the girl stood her ground, shrieking at the top of her lungs, her hands gripping the back of a passenger's seat with terrifying strength. "Let go of me! Let go! Stop the bus! Hurry up! Otherwise they'll catch all of you! Stop!" The bus assistant came down from the front to help the mother pull the disabled girl back to her seat, but the moment he touched her, she slapped him across the face several times. Furious but helpless, he told the driver to pull over temporarily so everyone could use the restroom while they sorted her out. The moment the door hissed open, the girl bolted out, leaving the passengers stunned. Her mother scrambled after her, but by the time she hit the ground, the girl had vanished into the darkness. Footsteps echoed from a nearby dirt path, and the mother took off running after the sound. Fong stepped off the bus to grab a drink of water and stretch his legs. The passengers scattered in different directions to find a private spot in the brush. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air. "Help me! There's a ghost! There's a ghost here!" A man came sprinting back, so panicked he hadn't even finished zipping his pants. His face was deathly white, his breath coming in ragged gasps. There's something in the trees over there. It grabbed my leg."
When he reached the light and pulled up his pant leg, everyone gasped. His ankle was covered in bloody gouges, looking exactly as if a wild beast had clawed and bitten him. Someone tried to dismiss it. "Those are just scratches from forest thorns. Where would a ghost come from?" But the man insisted he had seen something supernatural and climbed back onto the bus, trembling in silence. 10 minutes passed. The crowd stood hesitating, waiting for the mother and daughter to return. Some passengers began to grow irritable. "Hey, driver, let's just go. We can't wait here forever. Let them catch the next bus. It's almost Tet. We've got things to do." The driver sighed. "Look, we have a schedule to keep. I'll go with a few others to do one quick search. If we don't find them in 10 minutes, the bus is leaving." The driver, Fong, and 2 other men grabbed flashlights and headed down the dirt path leading deep into a nearby village. From the thick brush, the cry of a strange bird, N.A., rang out, sending chills down their spines. The terrain was hilly, the vegetation dense, and there wasn't a single light in sight except for the fleeting glare of occasional passing cars. They had only gone about 10 meters when another man came running toward them, screaming about ghosts and demons. Fong and the others, trying to stay calm, shone their lights into a thicket. They froze in horror. The disabled girl was kneeling at the foot of a tree, licking the bark. Her face was smeared with mud and filth. Every time she pressed her face against the wood, she let out low, unintelligible moans. From the end of the path, her mother finally caught up, sobbing hysterically. My child, I'm here. Why are you like this? Oh, my poor daughter."
The girl's eyes were rolled back, her breath heavy and ragged, as if she had just performed back-breaking labor. Drool leaked from her mouth. Her hands were clawing at the earth so violently, her fingernails looked ready to snap off, yet she seemed to feel no pain. The mother collapsed to her knees, unable to stop her tears. "I beg you, child, please wake up. Come home with me, we're almost there." Suddenly, the girl took her mother's hand and stood up. She exhaled a breath that felt unnervingly cold. At that moment, she stopped resisting and struggling. She followed her mother silently back toward the bus. In her hand, Her hands were still caked with blood, mixed with mud trapped under her fingernails. The driver urged everyone to quickly settle into their seats so they could make up for lost time. Suddenly, a heavy downpour began. It was strange, a torrential rainstorm hitting the mountain region right at the end of the year. The bus sped through the night, the passengers exhausted from the long journey, hunger and motion sickness. About 20 minutes later, a chaotic crowd appeared ahead. Among them, ambulances and traffic police were visible, with motorcycles and cars lined up in a long queue. The driver got out to see what was happening. Screams echoed from up ahead. "So many people died! Quick, get the ones still breathing to the hospital immediately. The rest of you hurry up and rescue those trapped inside." These words left everyone in shock. Fong and a few of the braver passengers stepped down to look. It turned out there had been a massive landslide on this treacherous stretch of mountain road. Due to the recent persistent drizzling rain, the earth had become heavy, causing rocks to collapse and block a section over 20 meters. They said several vehicles were trapped underneath. Bodies were being recovered by the rescue team and laid out on the road, covered with straw mats. They were waiting for the authorities to identify them and for families to arrive. Some pulled from the cliffside were no longer whole. Some faces were unrecognizable, while other victims had been buried so deep that by the time rescuers dug them out, they had just taken their last breath from a lack of oxygen and blood loss. After a while, the wailing of the victims' families erupted, turning the entire stretch of road into a scene of mourning. The driver returned to the bus and spoke to the passengers. "How tragic. This truly is the misfortune of the year's end. That landslide, I heard many people died. If we wait, it won't be until early tomorrow morning that we can move again. I know a shortcut. It's a bit further, but right now there's no other way through." The driver decided to turn the bus around. Seeing the passengers agree to the shortcut in hopes of arriving on time, he made the move immediately. At that moment, an elderly man on the bus seemed to realize something and spoke up loudly. "Listen, everyone, it turns out that girl from earlier saved our lives. If she hadn't stopped us and forced the bus to stay put, it might have been us lying under that pile of earth and rock right now."
He continued, "I've heard that at the very end of the year, all the bad luck and curses of the entire year converge. Wandering souls and forest demons roam all year just to find souls to take as replacements, and this is their last chance to finish the job. This mountain pass is notorious for accidents." Hearing the old man's words, everyone recalled the disabled girl's earlier outburst. A wave of cold shivers ran down their spines. The bus continued its journey, finally entering the territory of Mai Chau, Hua Bin. The main road was blocked by the landslide, so they had to take an alternative route. By nearly 9 p.m., everyone was exhausted and starving. One passenger said to the driver, "Hey, driver, it's late. Maybe pull over so everyone can grab a bite before we keep going. We've been starving since this afternoon." The driver replied, "I'm in the same boat, but this road is completely deserted. There aren't any eateries around here.
Let's try to push on a bit further and see if a shop appears." After about 30 minutes, a bright light flickered by the roadside. A large sign hung out front, "The Deserted Restaurant." The driver pulled over. "Everyone, get off for a 30-minute break to eat and rest before we continue." At this point, everyone stepped off, except for the disabled girl. No matter how much they called or pulled at her, she gripped the seat frame. "I'm not going! Get away from me! I'm not going down there!" Helpless, her mother looked at her and said softly, "Fine, stay here then. I'll go down and buy some rice to bring back up for you, okay? Sit still and don't go anywhere, you hear me?" She then followed the crowd into the restaurant. The restaurant was eerily quiet. Aside from the passengers from the bus, there wasn't another soul in sight. Trays of food were brought up from the kitchen, bowls of rice and pho steaming hot and smelling delicious. The mother took a bowl of rice back to the bus for her daughter, but the moment she stepped on board, she screamed, "Nah, my child, where are you?" The disabled girl had vanished. She was no longer on the bus. She had disappeared in a bizarre fashion. The mother ran back down, sobbing, "Did anyone see my daughter? Please, did any of you see where she went? She was just on the bus." Someone suggested, "Maybe she went to the restroom. Try checking the back, madam." The mother rushed into the restaurant, calling her daughter's name as she ran from room to room, but there was no sign of her. A few sympathetic passengers joined the search, but their shouts echoed through the area with no response. The driver and his assistant also split up to help. The driver paused, a thought crossing his mind. This isn't good. At the end of the year, in these desolate sacred forests in poisonous waters, you shouldn't call out names like that. You might lure a ghost into snatching them. I'm afraid the spirits have hidden the girl. This road is abandoned, and there's a steep cliff ahead where accidents always happen. People say this area is crawling with hungry ghosts and wandering demons. Hearing the driver mention ghosts made Fong hesitate. He had never believed in such things before, but honestly, since boarding this bus, he had witnessed too many inexplicable events. After finishing his pho, Fong went to the restroom, intending to take a quick look for the girl as well. It was a pity for the mother and daughter to be stranded in this freezing mountainous wilderness at night. As he was washing his face to wake himself up, the lights in the restroom suddenly flickered and died. The space became thick with pitch-black darkness. The restroom door creaked, "Scree!" and slammed shut. Fong quickly fumbled for his phone and switched on the flashlight. As the beam cut through the dark, Fong gasped and dropped his phone in terror. Standing right in the doorway was the silhouette of a man, hands on his hips, staring straight inside. The figure stood perfectly still, towering and unmoving, as if its eyes were fixed solely on Fong. Staring, Fong wondered if he was dreaming or if this was real. Why did this silhouette look so much like his grandfather? His voice trembled. "Grandfather, is that you? Why are you standing there and not coming in?" The figure uttered not a word. Gathering every ounce of courage, Fong scrambled towards his phone and shone the light directly at the figure. Under the beam of the flashlight, Fong clearly recognized an old man with snow-white hair and a beard. He was standing on one leg, the other was a stump, resting on a crutch. The old man's eyes were filled with a profound sorrow as he gazed at Fong.
Terrified, Fong tried to bolt, but for some reason his limbs felt paralyzed. He couldn't move a muscle, as if someone were gripping his legs and pinning them to the floor. Fong screamed in horror. "Is anyone there? Help! Help me!" The old man slowly approached and gently reached out to stroke Fong's hair. "Go home, child. It is the end of the year. Do not travel far. Listen to your grandfather. Go back home."
Fong was stunned. Now that the figure was close, he realized it truly was his grandfather. It was definitely that face. "Grandpa? Grandpa, why are you here? You passed away. How can you be back? What is happening?" His grandfather replied in a hurried, urgent tone, "I must return to the underworld soon. I won't be able to protect you much longer." While Fong was still dazed, a loud car horn blared from outside. Fong snapped back to reality. The restroom was dark, but there wasn't a soul in sight. His grandfather had vanished. The bus assistant walked in and clapped Fong on the shoulder. "Hey, big guy, what are you doing in here? Hurry up and get to the bus so we can go." Fong stammered in shock. "Sir, there's a ghost. I just saw a ghost." The assistant tilted his head and looked at Fong. "Oh, for heaven's sake, a ghost in your head, maybe? Or did you sneak in here to do some drugs? Are you high? Just get out there, everyone is waiting." Fong shook his head violently, trying to clear his mind, and followed the assistant out with his head down. They had also found the girl in the kitchen. Apparently, when the chefs went inside, they found her crouching in a corner, ravenously chewing on a raw chicken taken from the fridge, her face smeared with blood. Everyone was horrified. The bus resumed its journey, but this time a heavy, oppressive feeling hung over every passenger. No one spoke a word. The only sound was the low drone of the TV at the front of the bus. Around 6 a.m., the bus finally reached its destination. As soon as he stepped off, Fong heard a voice calling from a distance. "Fong! Fong! I'm over here!" A man ran toward him, looking enthusiastic. "You've been traveling since yesterday and you're just getting here now? My goodness!" It was Mr. Ba, Fong's uncle. "Uncle Ba, it's a long story. I'll tell you all about it when we get home. Let's just go now. I'm starving." Uncle Ba smiled. "All right, your aunt has already prepared food since early this morning. We've got mountain goat for you. It's incredibly delicious, son. One bite and you'll remember it forever." They rode the motorcycle into the village. The early morning air was still thick with mist, making Fong shiver from the cold. Sitting on the back, he looked up at the scenery. Everything here was a world away from the lowlands. The weather was pleasant, the air crisp and fresh. Stilt houses lined the road, and in the distance were rolling hills followed by towering mountains cloaked in dense forests. Perhaps it was this abundance of greenery that gave the climate here such a unique character. After traveling about 3 kilometers, they arrived at the house. Standing at the entrance were Mrs. Tao, Uncle Ba's wife, and their son, who was roughly Fong's age, waiting for them. As soon as Fong stepped off the bike, Mrs. Tao cheered, "Is that little Fong? Come in, son. Put your things away and wash up to freshen up, then have some breakfast. Let me reheat the food so it's nice and hot." Just as he was about to enter the house, Fong's dog came rushing out. Its fur bristled, its eyes glared, and it bared its teeth at Fong, barking ferociously. Despite Uncle Ba shouting at it several times, the dog continued to circle Fong, staring at him with pure hostility. Frustrated, Uncle Ba had to chain it up. Even after being tied to the house pillar, the dog struggled wildly for a moment before finally lying still. Uncle Ba muttered, "That's strange. This Goldie is usually so gentle. It's never lunged at anyone like this before. I wonder why it's acting up seeing you today." "It's just a dog, Uncle. It probably just finds me a stranger and is barking at the unknown. Once I'm here for a few days, it'll get used to me." Fong put his luggage inside and went to the back of the house to wash his face. Uncle Ba's house sat right at the foot of a hill, with a dense forest rising behind it. Uncle Ba had planted many fruit trees, and higher up were massive timber trees. Walking along the side of the main house led to the bathroom and restroom. The water here was drawn from a hand-dug well, quite a change from the tap water in the city. Houses here were sparse, easily 100 meters apart, and most were traditional stilt houses. Uncle Ba's house was the only one built in the lowland brick style, although the roof was made of forest wood and tile, keeping it cool.
Once finished, Fong went back inside and asked Uncle Ba, "Is Grandma not awake yet?" "Oh, she's still sleeping in her room. Go on in and visit her, Fong." Fong opened his backpack and took out some boxes of milk his mother had bought for the old lady. He pushed open the bedroom door. The long, rusted hinges let out a sharp screech that made him startle. As he stepped inside, the smell of damp mold hit his nose, causing him to sneeze a few times. The old woman startled awake. Fong's grandmother was nearly 80 now, and her mind drifted between clarity and confusion. Uncle Ba usually kept her in the room for meals and rest, fearing she might wander off and get lost. Fong said excitedly, "Grandma, it's me, Fong, Von's son. Do you recognize me?" The grandmother was overjoyed to see him. She hugged her grandson, her voice choked with emotion. "Is that you, Fong? Oh, my goodness. Come here. Come in. So, did you just get back from America?" Her question left Fong completely stunned. He let out a small laugh. It made sense. She was at that age where memories come and go. "No, Grandma, I'm Fong, Von's son, from down in Taibing, remember?" "Oh, Fong, right, Von's boy. It's been so long since you came to visit me." "Yes, ma'am, I've been busy with school and the road is so long. Now that Tet is coming, Mom told me to come visit you and my aunt and uncle." As soon as Fong finished speaking, his aunt's voice called out from outside, "You two come out for breakfast. We've got mountain goat, your favorite." Breakfast was filled with laughter and chatter. Fong kept praising the food as he ate. By the time they finished, it was past 8 a.m. Uncle Ba gave instructions to Fong and his son, Lam. "Lam, you and Fong stay home and rest for a bit. This afternoon, take him up to the waterfall to hang out. Your mother and I have to head to the fields. We probably won't be back until dark, okay?" Hearing about the waterfall made Fong ecstatic. It had been a long time since he'd been able to bathe in a stream or a fall. That feeling of a slight winter chill combined with the dry heat of the sun, jumping in shirtless to splash around until you're shivering, then coming up to sit by a fire and roast sweet potatoes and corn. There's nothing better. Mrs. Thao added a warning. "The weather is cold. Don't stay in the water too long, you hear me? Don't you dare catch a cold out there." After their parents gave their final instructions, they slung their sacks over their shoulders and hurried to the bike to head to the fields. At the gate, Mrs. Thao called back cautiously, "When you play at the falls, remember not to actually bathe. It's winter, boys, and don't go too deep into the village, you hear? It's the end of the year. Go early and come back early. Be careful."
As for Lam and Fong, they were close in age. Lam was a year older, but after middle school he had stayed home to work the fields with his father because his grades had consistently been at the bottom of the class. Life and hard labor had made Lam look much more rugged and mature than Fong. By 3 p.m., the sound of children laughing and splashing filled a corner of the stream. Despite the cold season, these were the only games the Highland kids had to play. Even though the water was biting and icy, it had its own special charm. Life here was isolated, with little contact with the outside world. Some said there were Hung villages deep in the mountains, where people didn't even speak the national language. The streams and waterfalls here were beautiful, with crystal-clear water flowing year-round. Surrounding the stream was a vast, sprawling forest with a few scattered stilt houses. In the distance, the sound of a flute harmonized with the rushing water, creating a melody that could captivate anyone's soul. It was peaceful and poetic. The boys lost track of time playing around the stream until it was past 5 p.m., forgetting the warning to return early. Twilight began to settle in. In winter, even if the day is sunny, darkness falls.
So quickly. By the time they looked around, everyone else was gone, except for a few scattered buffalo herders driving their cattle home. Fong called out to Lam, "Brother Lam, let's head back. It's almost dark." As the two brothers were getting ready to leave, they suddenly heard the distant sound of a child crying. "Lam, do you hear that? Is that a child crying?" "I don't hear anything. You're probably mistaken. It's just the sound of forest animals." "No, I definitely hear a child crying somewhere nearby." Lam, seeing how certain Fong was, began to have his own doubts. He stood still, listening intently to his surroundings. Indeed, there was a child's sob echoing from somewhere. You had to listen very closely to catch it over the loud roar of the waterfall. The two of them ventured deeper into the woods, a short distance from the stream, and found a little boy sitting on a fallen log. The boy had his head down, sobbing quietly. Fong approached him and asked, "Hey, it's almost dark. Why aren't you going home? Why are you sitting here, crying?" As Fong leaned in closer, stepping towards him, the child suddenly jerked his head up. He spun around and looked straight into Fong's face. His face was a gruesome mess of blood mixed with tears. Fong and Lam were horrified. They rushed over and saw that the boy's leg had been pierced by a long, thick bamboo thorn. It was buried deep. Perhaps from struggling it had sliced a long gash into his skin. After a frantic effort, Fong managed to pull the thorn out and quickly tore a piece of his own shirt to bandage the wound. Once the boy was bandaged, Fong asked, "Where do you live? Let me carry you home. You can't walk with an injury like this." The boy whimpered, "My house is over there. Just go straight up the dirt path and you'll reach it." Fong hoisted the boy onto his back and headed in the direction the child pointed, with Lam following closely behind him, his eyes darting around as if searching for something. After a while, Lam leaned in and whispered, "Are we almost at your house? I haven't seen a single building. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" The boy replied, "Almost. Just cross the stream and my house is right there on the other side." Sure enough, after walking a bit, a small stream blocked their path. The water wasn't deep, barely reaching above their ankles. Fong carried the boy across, but the moment he stepped on the opposite bank, both he and Lam jumped, nearly tumbling into the water. Standing there, out of nowhere, was a woman dressed in bizarre clothing, her hair disheveled, staring intently at the three of them. She was muttering in a local dialect they didn't recognize. From behind Fong's back, the boy slid down and called out, "Mother, I'm home! Mother, we're home!" The woman looked at Lam and Fong with a cold, unfriendly glare. She grabbed the boy's hand and led him straight into a dilapidated shack nearby. Before running inside, the boy turned back and pressed a wooden puppet toy into Fong's hand. Fong accepted it with a smile, thinking it was a small gift of gratitude from the boy. Here is the English translation of your script, keeping the eerie rural atmosphere and the specific cultural nuances of the story. The end of the year, the grave of the Mon people. It was just past 7 p.m. Uncle Ba had just returned from work, and the whole family gathered around the table eating and chatting happily. Fong began telling everyone about his afternoon encounter at the stream, how the two brothers had found a little boy who had stepped on a thorn, and how the two of them had carried him home. The moment the words left his mouth, Aunt Tao's face turned deathly pale. She abruptly dropped her rice bowl. Noticing her strange reaction, Lam asked, "What's wrong, Mom? Why have you stopped eating?" Aunt Tao replied in a low, trembling voice, "There are no houses behind that stream. Don't you remember? Behind that area is the ancient cemetery of the Mon people." Her voice grew more frantic. "Could it be? Could it be that a ghost led you both in there? That place is only for the dead. It has been the Mon cemetery for generations." Hearing his mother, Lam laughed to reassure her. "That can't be right, Mom. We took the boy back to his house, and there were other people there too. They must be Hmong people from the mountains who moved down recently. You haven't been up to the waterfall in a long time, so you wouldn't know." Aunt Tao listened, and realizing his point made sense, her anxiety eased slightly. But Fong, always curious about ghost stories, asked, "Uncle, are there really ghosts in the mountains? I've heard they sometimes come out to harass people." His uncle replied, "I'm not sure if you met a ghost or not, but normally no one lives there. There are a few Mon people nearby, but they stay on the far end, quite a distance from where you described. Besides, it's the end of the lunar year now, the final month, final days. The local tribes avoid that cemetery at all costs. They are very superstitious about entering the forest this time of year. On normal days, they go in to harvest bamboo shoots or hunt wild fowl, but during these year-end days, the fog clings to the trees. Even the locals get lost, let alone going out at night." Just as Aunt Tao finished speaking, the old grandmother sitting beside them, who had been slowly chewing her rice, suddenly let out a piercing scream, knocking her bowl to the floor. The end of the year, the demons return to possess the living, wandering souls, killing to switch fates. The karmic cycle is fixed. No one is spared. No one is spared. Then the old woman burst into a chilling, cackling laughter, staring intently at the front yard. Aunt Tao, startled, dropped her own bowl and rushed to embrace her. "Mother, what's wrong? Why are you screaming like that? You're scaring the children. What do you see out there?" The grandmother didn't answer. She brushed Aunt Tao's hands away and crossed her arms over her chest, her head nodding repeatedly, as if she were agreeing with an invisible entity. Seeing the old woman talking nonsense, Uncle Ba shouted sternly, "What on earth? Hurry up and eat so you can rest. You're scaring Fong, and if the neighbors hear you, they'll talk." Everyone was shaken. It was rare to see the grandmother act like this. Though she usually drifted between lucidity and confusion and was so hard to hear you had to yell into her ear for her to understand, her behavior tonight was truly haunting.
Aunt Thao pressed further. "Wait, did you see something last night?" "Well, right as I was about to go to sleep around midnight, I saw something flash past the window. At first, I thought it was just a tree shadow, but thinking back, it looked like the shadow of a woman with very long hair. I thought it was just you getting up to use the restroom." Aunt Thao looked at Fong and let out a long sigh to reassure him. You were probably just seeing things. Being in a strange new place can play tricks on your mind and cause vivid dreams. Just try to go to sleep earlier from now on. Staying up late isn't good for you anyway." Despite her words, Aunt Thao began to feel a creeping sense of worry. As a local, born and raised in these highlands, a land reputed to be crawling with spirits and demons, she had grown up hearing countless supernatural tales. That very night, Aunt Thao had a dream about Lam's grandfather. The old man had passed away a long time ago, and she had rarely dreamt of him since she was pregnant with Lam. But tonight his spirit appeared. His gaunt figure stood outside the door, peering into the house. He just stood there, his eyes filled with a profound sadness, refusing to step over the threshold. In the dream, Aunt Thao tried to call out to him, "Father, you've come back. Why don't you come inside with us? It's cold out there in the wind." The old man shook his head urgently. With a sorrowful expression, he pointed toward the room where Lam and Fong were sleeping. His voice sounded as if it were echoing from the depths of the underworld. "Save the two of them! Save them!" "Save who, Father? What's happening? Is something wrong with the boys?" Before Aunt Thao could ask more, the image of the old man dissolved into a thick white mist. "Father, where are you going? Wait for me!" she cried out in her sleep. Her muffled groans woken Uncle Ba. He turned over, grumbling. "What on earth are you dreaming about that's making you scream like that?" Aunt Thao opened her eyes, trembling. "Old man, I just saw Father. He was standing outside, refusing to come in. He pointed toward Lam's room and told me to save the two boys. I'm terrified. What if something is about to happen? I have a terrible premonition." Uncle Ba sat up and poured his wife a glass of water to calm her. "I've been worried too. Since those two came back from the stream, they've looked pale and drained. Maybe they encountered something unclean in the forest. Since you dreamt of Father warning us like this, I'll buy some fruit tomorrow to burn incense and ask the ancestors for protection. Now, drink some water and go back to sleep. It's almost dawn." Time continued to slip away. Fong had been staying at his uncle's house for nearly a week. It seemed as though the trouble had passed, but in reality, it was only the beginning of a series of tragic events about to befall Uncle Ba's family. There were only a few days left until the full moon of the 12th month. In this region, every household prepares offerings of sticky rice, chicken, fruit, and sweets with great care. Families with means might even roast a pig or prepare goat meat to offer to the ancestors and the mountain god. Uncle Ba's family was no different. Today, Aunt Thao was heading to the periodic market to shop, taking Fong and Lam along so Fong could see how a year-end highland market differed from the lowlands. It had been a long time since Fong had such an opportunity. The highland markets here weren't as well stocked or diverse as the lowlands, but they were filled with essentials, fruits, candies, and the daily tools of the local laborers. There was a wide variety of agricultural and forest products, but most striking were the stalls selling brocade clothing, vibrant with colors and patterns that created the unique charm of a Northwest market session. Seeing Aunt Thao's basket overflowing with candies, incense, joss paper, and several peculiar-looking paper effigies, Fong asked curiously, "Why are you buying so much, Auntie? And what are those paper figures for?" Aunt Thao gave a warm smile. "These are offerings for the full moon of the 12th month, son. Up here, we celebrate the year-end full moon very seriously. It's not like in the lowlands. These effigies are burned for the officials in the underworld to serve them, and for the mountain god so he will protect the villagers and bring us prosperity. It's our custom, we can't skip it." Fong chuckled. "Back at home, we also make offerings for the full moon, but we usually just buy some sweets and light incense to our ancestors. It's not as elaborate as here. I bet the villages will be very lively today, right?" "That's right. On 15th of the lunar month, especially this final full moon of the year, the villages are bustling from dawn until late at night with rituals for ancestors and spirits. The children run all over the village sharing candies.
Now, you two help me carry these things to the market gate while I buy one more rooster, then we'll head home." That day, Uncle Ba had trapped a wild jungle fowl in the mountains behind the house, and the family enjoyed an incredible charcoal-grilled feast. Aunt Thao sat shredding the meat into a bowl for Grandma, who nodded in satisfaction as she ate. Grandma began to mutter in her raspy voice, "Lamb, Fong, go to bed early tonight. Don't leave your room in the middle of the night. It's not good. Stay inside. If you hear someone calling your name, do not answer. You hear me?" Hearing her ramble differently than usual, Uncle Ba snapped, "Good heavens, who's going to be calling them in the middle of the night to warrant all that answering? Hurry up and finish so you can go to your room and rest. If anyone's calling in the night, it'll probably just be you." Grandma, whose hearing was failing, leaned in close to Uncle Ba. "Huh? What did you say?" As night fell, the air grew chilly, yet it felt strangely soothing. Fong fell asleep almost as soon as he lay down. That night he had a bizarre dream. A woman was standing at the foot of his bed, accompanied by a small boy, both staring intently at him. The mother and son wore strange, tattered brocade clothing, typical of an ethnic minority group. Outside, the wind howled, and the window shutters banged rhythmically against the wall. Clack, clack, clack. The gust blew the woman's hair across her face, revealing a terrifying, blood-stained countenance. Her eyes were nothing but two deep, hollow black pits. She was weeping tears of blood, red, watery streaks that stained her entire shirt. In her hand, the woman held a long rope. She raised her voice, "Take this rope and die." At that moment, Fong froze. Drenched in sweat, he tried to call out to Lamb lying next to him, but no matter how hard he tried, no sound came out. His mouth felt like someone was squeezing it shut. Fong reached out to touch Lamb, but his hands were clawed and cramped. The woman's voice rose again, cold and hollow. "On the full moon of the 12th lunar month, someone must die. You will die in my son's place. Take the rope and die. Die." Fong's eyes suddenly rolled back, showing only the whites. He slowly sat up, eyes glazed, and stepped out of bed. He wandered out of the house into the darkness. He walked quickly, with purpose, as if it were broad daylight. Reaching the longan tree at the end of the alley, Fong stood still for a moment and looked up. A rope was already there, slowly, slowly dangling down from a branch. Fong stepped forward gently and placed his neck into the noose. His eyes began to close as the woman's voice urged in his ear, "Die, die." Just then, Vang, the dog, started barking loudly from the other side. It scratched fiercely at the door, howling incessantly. It shoved the bedroom door open, stood right by the bed staring into the void, and barked furiously. The barking caused two white shadows to vanish in terror. Fong startled awake, his shirt soaked with sweat. It turned out to be just a nightmare. He sat up and switched on the light. Strangely, the window and the bedroom door were wide open. At the foot of the bed, Vang stood there, wagging its tail. Terrified, Fong quickly turned to Lamb. "Lamb! Lamb, wake up! I just saw a ghost, Lamb!" Lamb, still groggy, mumbled, "What ghost? There's no ghost." "It's true, Lamb. Get up and see." When Lamb finally woke and looked around, he gasped, "Oh my God, why are there so many footprints in the room? How did Vang get in here?" Indeed, at the foot of the bed where the woman and her child had stood, there were black footprints, large and small. Fong recounted the terrifying dream. The two brothers decided to leave the lights on until dawn, only managing to catch a bit of exhausted sleep as the sun began to rise. By 6 a.m., the sky was bright. Fong went to find Uncle Ba to tell him everything, not noticing that the footprints from the night before had vanished. "Uncle Ba, we saw a ghost. I'm so scared. If you don't believe me, come to the room and see. It's full of footprints." Seeing how certain his nephew was, Uncle Ba followed him inside. Fong flipped the switch and pointed. "Look, Uncle, I saw a ghost, a woman and her child. They even left footprints right here." "Where? There's nothing here." Fong was baffled. But they were here last night. How are they gone this morning? He hurriedly called Lamb to testify. Lamb, wake up! Look, where did the footprints go? Lamb stepped out of bed, stunned. But last night, Fong and I clearly saw footprints, large and small, right in this spot. Maybe Mother swept the floor early this morning? Uncle Ba replied, Your mother went to the market at 5 a.m. and isn't back yet. When would she have had the time? What did you see while cleaning up last night? Tell your father everything.
At 8 a.m., the mother and the two nephews set off for Master Nyat's house, located deep at the far end of the village. They left their vehicle outside and walked across a small bridge over a creek. After a short distance, they came upon an old stilt house with thick smoke billowing from it. Outside the door, an elderly woman and her daughter sat, sorting medicinal leaves. When the mother saw guests approaching, she stood up. Mrs. Thou bowed respectfully. Greetings, Madam Me. Is Master Nyat home? We've come today to ask for his help. Before Mrs. Thou could finish her sentence, a hacking cough echoed from inside the house. Go home, the three of you. I cannot help your family. This is the will of heaven. With a look of despair, Mrs. Thou pleaded, Master, please have mercy. No matter the cost, our family will... Without stepping outside, the master's voice boomed from within. Let everything follow the will of heaven. Go home. Just as the master finished speaking, Fong, who had been standing at the gate, suddenly rushed into the yard and cried out, Grandmother, you're the person I met on the coach on the way here, aren't you? Both you and this lady. What a coincidence! The old woman sorting leaves looked up at Fong and smiled. Was it you who helped find the little girl that day? What a coincidence indeed! Fong replied, Yes, it's me. I'm the one who fainted in the restroom. I came up here to visit my grandmother's house. This is my aunt and my cousin. So, this is your home? Yes, this is my home. Well then, you might as well sit and stay a while. When he says he won't help, he won't help. There's no use arguing. As she spoke, the daughter, who had a dazed, vacant look, stood up and ran into the house. She muttered something to Master Nyat in an ethnic dialect. A moment later, Master Nyat finally emerged. He was a thin man, dressed in dark brown clothes and wearing a beret. Though he looked to be over 70, he moved with agility. Stepping down into the yard, he looked at Mrs. Thou. I will help your family. I'm doing this out of respect for my daughter's plea. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare defy the will of heaven. Master Nyat now turned to Fong. You took something of theirs home with you, didn't you? Fong stammered, his mind racing, unable to answer yet. The master continued, The spirits of that mother and child are following you. They are standing right there at the entrance of the alley. At the end of the year, you went into the ghost forest and took a dead person's belongings. Whatever that boy gave you, bring it here to me immediately. Hurry, or it will be too late. Master Nyat said no more and turned back into the house. Fong remembered the wooden puppet the child had given him. His face went white as he stammered to Mrs. Thou, Auntie, how does the master know that? It's true. That day before I left, the little boy gave me a puppet.
At that same hour, elsewhere, old Mrs. Nan walked with weary steps through the night toward Master Nyat's house. No one knew why she went there, but a while later she walked straight to the cemetery. She collapsed onto her knees before the grave of Mr. Singh, her late husband. Suddenly her mind became remarkably clear. Weeping softly, she whispered to herself, "Old man, I've lived to this age, I have no regrets. I only pity our 2 grandsons and Ba. They are still young, they must live to take care of this family. If I die and follow you, we can be together again, right?" Her eyes blurred with tears as she spoke. In the distance, the silent graves radiated a bone-chilling cold. The wind abruptly stopped. The cries of the monster bird vanished. The air grew suffocating. From the darkness, a procession of figures in official robes appeared on horseback. Leading them was a high-ranking mandarin in a formal hat, looking stern and majestic. Beside him were soldiers armed with spears, looking fierce and aggressive. Behind them followed servants and a few blurred spirits wandering in the night. Mrs. Nan saw the familiar silhouette of her husband. Mr. Singh stood there with a sorrowful face, watching her as if he wanted to speak. A few soldiers stepped forward and handed her a strip of white cloth, along with a scroll written in ancient script. Mrs. Nan looked it over, handed it back, took the cloth, and walked away. The mandarin and his ghostly retinue slowly vanished into the night. Back at the house, Lam and Fong recounted everything to Mr. Ba. Everyone was sick with worry. The family stayed up all night waiting for news of Mrs. Nan. They sat in somber silence until 6 a.m. Suddenly, a voice called from the gate. "Mr. Ba, go to the cemetery at the edge of the village. The old lady, she hung herself from a treetop. She's dead." The news struck them like a thunderbolt. They rushed to the Mung cemetery. Mrs. Thao burst into frantic sobs at the sight of her mother's body, which had already gone stiff. An early rising farmer had found her hanging near Mr. Singh's grave. The strangest thing was, the cotton tree was incredibly tall. How could an old woman, whose limbs usually trembled with every step, climb to the very top to hang herself? The funeral was arranged quickly. Fong's parents were notified to come up from Tai Bing to pay their last respects. A heavy atmosphere of mourning cloaked the house. Mrs. Thao wept, her heart filled with a gnawing dread of what might happen next. When it came time to shroud the body for the coffin, a problem arose. The corpse was as stiff as a board. Her limbs were so tightly cramped they couldn't be straightened. The village elders suggested rubbing rice wine on her joints to warm and loosen them, but it was useless. She was so rigid they couldn't even change her for her funeral clothes. As they stood there in despair, a voice rang out from the doorway. "The old lady passed away last night, didn't she?" Everyone turned around. That was the teacher. Before Master Nyat could say another word, Mrs. Thao began to wail. "Master, please tell me what is happening to my family. Does my mother's death have anything to do with those spirits?" Master Nyat replied, "Those 2 ghosts took her away, but I gave my word that I would help this family." He stepped forward and waved his hand in front of old Mrs. Nan's face. Suddenly, her stiff limbs went limp and straightened out completely, leaving everyone gasping and whispering in shock.
Pointing at Lam and Fong, Master Nyat continued, "One of these two should have been the one to die last night, but the old woman went a step ahead. She bartered her soul to the demon to save her grandsons. At the end of the year, spirits seek substitutes to take their place. Anyone unlucky enough to be caught by these forest demons will have their soul drained until it vanishes. That is when they must die in the demon's stead. That is why in our village, whenever the white mist descends from the forest on the Hmong cemetery at year-end, no one dares enter the woods at night, and even daytime visits are limited. Yet these two somehow wandered in there and even took an object belonging to a demon. By all rights, you two should have died last night. Now, place her in the coffin so she can be buried on time. Her soul has been taken. Exactly 49 days from now, at midnight, the family must go to the cemetery to call her back, lest her soul wander for eternity." Hearing that her mother's soul had been taken, Mr. Ba grew indignant. "My family is grieving, and you come here talking nonsense. I'll throw you out of this house right now." Master Nyat remained calm. "If you don't believe me, just wait. From now until the 3rd day ritual, she will return one more time. At that moment, she will reveal herself to whoever shares a spiritual bond with her. My work is done. I am leaving." After he spoke, he hurried away. Mrs. Thao barely had time to see him to the gate before returning to finish the shrouding ritual. The mournful wail of the funeral trumpets echoed once more, making the heavy atmosphere even more heart-wrenching. By 6 a.m. the next morning, Fong's parents arrived. The body was placed on a vehicle for burial. A long procession followed her to the cemetery amidst cries of grief. Just as the coffin was lowered into the grave, the sky broke. Heavy black clouds rolled in, and the burial was completed under a cold, drizzling rain. Everyone returned to their homes, leaving only Mr. Ba's family behind to drive stakes and fence off the grave to protect it from livestock before they themselves headed back. Fong's parents stayed one more day to help with the 3rd day ritual. After dinner, everyone was exhausted, partly from the sleepless nights, partly from the weight of their grief. Their faces looked hollow, as if they had lost their own souls. Mr. Ba, drained of energy, climbed into bed and fell into a deep sleep the moment his head hit the pillow. Perhaps because he had fallen asleep so early, he woke up around 1 a.m. needing to use the restroom. He grabbed the flashlight from his bedside and walked slowly toward the side of the house. The late-night air was freezing and deathly still. In the yard, tables and chairs from the funeral were still scattered in disarray. As he passed the main house where the altar stood, the white funeral candles flickered weakly. The incense had burned out long ago. Mr. Ba went over, intending to light a fresh stick for his mother. Just as he turned up the flame of the oil lamp, he recoiled in terror. On Mrs. Nan's funeral portrait, the corners of her mouth seemed to curve into a smile. Her sorrowful eyes appeared to be staring directly at him. He backed away, only to jump in fright as he stepped on something. It was the walking stick Mrs. Nan always used. Panic surged through him. How is her stick here? They hadn't seen it when they took her to the cemetery, and they couldn't find it anywhere in the house. Why is it here? As he held the stick, before he could even steady his nerves, he let out another scream and dropped it.
Behind the altar of the dead, right next to the portrait, another face, identical to the one in the photograph, slowly began to materialize. Old Mrs. Nan appeared beside the altar, her image growing clearer by the second, her body gaunt, her eyes sunken, her expression of utter desolation. Mr. Ba stood frozen, his mouth working but no words coming out. Suddenly she spoke. "Ba, Ba, Mother has to go now. Take this stick. Tomorrow during the 3rd day ritual, take it to the grave and bury it beside me. Exactly 49 days from now, dig beneath the foot of my grave. There is a wooden box with a human effigy inside. Take that box to Master Nyat. Only then can my soul truly return home. I must go. The forest demons have taken me to serve as a ghostly messenger. Only after 49 days